Good afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us at the Center for Teaching Excellence for Deliver, the third and final installment in our webinar series, The 3Ds of Online Course Development. In today's session, I will focus on building rapport with students and fostering a community of learners, the pros and cons of synchronous and asynchronous delivery methods, providing meaningful feedback, and I'll end with 15 tips for success. Building community. I'm going to start out discussing how important it is to build community in your online course. Online students want to connect with you, the instructor, and with each other just as they do in face-to-face courses. It's in the first few days where you start to build a rapport with your students. Building community is intentional and it requires that you plan your strategy in advance. So just as you would in a face-to-face course, you set the tone as the instructor. So think about some of the great things that you do that first day and think about how you can bring your technique online. Setting the tone. The key word here is community. Everyone go ahead and type community in the chat. That's going to be very important. Community. Yes. So let's talk about what we mean by community. Community helps keep students involved and engaged in your course. You set the tone for openness. You set the tone for inclusiveness. And you set the tone for engagement within your class. And all of this helps build your students' trust in you. Welcome and introductions. So if you typically teach in a face-to-face course, think back to your first day of class and think about some of the things that you do. As faculty, we do things like introduce ourselves, where we tell a little bit about our background, maybe something about our research, something we did over the summer or over the holidays. We may even share a slide set of some great and awesome places that we visited that's related to the course. We'll have the students to introduce themselves to each other and start to learn their names. And then we may have an icebreaker of some kind. And of course, there's always some discussion of the syllabus, what books does the students need, and we might also explain our expectations and our course policies. What are some of the things that you currently do in the first day of your course? Great. Someone collects information sheets, syllabus and introductions, introduce themselves, share interesting facts. Awesome. Review the syllabus. Seeing some great things come through. Icebreaker activities. Students and even pairing off and learning about each other. So I want you to consider what you've included in the chat, and let's see how you can translate this online. So in the chat now, enter what you can do during the first day, first couple of days, or first week of your online course. How can you translate what you're doing now into an online course? Yes, you can do it and introduce yourself, the discussion board. Yes, awesome, Lex. An introductory video. Yes, wikis, great. We can have students to submit information about themselves. Awesome. You all have some great ideas that are coming through the chat. So introductions by faculty typically occur in one or two ways. Number one, text. Number two, video. The self-introduction helps students to get to know you. Either you can include a text bio, a short welcome in the Meet Your Instructor section of Blackboard, and include a picture, or you can consider recording a short introduction video. Remember, your initial introduction should create a sense of connection between you and your students. You should present yourself as professional as well as approachable, and include the essentials, things like your name, your title, your field of expertise, your email address, your phone number, and times that you will typically be online to assist your students. Student introductions at the beginning of the course help to create a welcoming learning environment and a sense of community. You should ask students to introduce themselves and provide them guidance and your expectations of them. So you may wish to ask students to respond to specific questions such as maybe why they're taking your course, what are their strategies for being successful in your course, what concerns they may have, what they can expect to learn. Or you can choose to let students decide what they want to include in their introductions. You can consider giving students the opportunity to represent themselves in a variety of ways, like text, audio, or visual. When you plan your course, also plan for 3 types of interactions: student to instructor, student to student, and student to content. Student-to-student interactions, when appropriate, not only helps with building community, it also helps students build skills in virtual teamwork and communication, which is very important in the times that we're currently in. In setting the tone, it's very important that you clearly state expectations for how students are to communicate online. It's important to be explicit about standards for communication that apply to your course. So some considerations can include treating everyone with respect, not using all capital letters in emails or discussion board posting. That is considered yelling. Beginning emails with a proper citation. Using proper grammar, spelling, punctuation, as well as capitalization. Avoid using text message language and using good taste when communicating. The next topic is synchronous versus asynchronous delivery methods. So some of you may be asking, what type of delivery method should I use? Synchronous, when my students and I are online at the same time, or asynchronous, when students access materials such as lectures, third-party videos, readings, videos, assignments at different times, anytime, anywhere, access to information. Planning your communication. A large part of teaching online is communicating consistently with your students. You want to have a plan to help you manage your time and your workload. You don't want to put on this Superman or Superwoman cape and try to be ultra responsive and ever present. You don't want to answer student emails at any hour of the day or night. You don't want to respond to every single discussion board post, and you don't want to design elaborate assignments that take advantage of all of the latest technology tools that are available to you. So as you can imagine, this can be somewhat unrealistic and exhausting, and we do not want to be exhausted. Students, they need to know that you are present in the class. However, you do not need to be in the class every minute of every day. There are ways to communicate with your students that will help them know what to expect and help your workload as well. For instance, letting your students know how often and when you will check and respond check and respond to emails like 24 hours Monday through Friday and 48 hours on the weekend. You can also consider setting up a course cafe or a frequently asked question discussion board for students to ask non-private questions and help each other with answers. You can consider awarding extra credit points if they answer the question correctly. I currently do this in my class and it works out very, very well. Planning in advance what and how you will communicate will help you and your students. This will allow you to schedule your communication in your week. You'll want to consider ways students can track their learning progress as well as your plan for response time and feedback on assignments. You want to let your students know how long it will take you in your syllabus or your getting started section of your course. This will save your inbox from filling up with questions from students. Learning is more effective if students receive frequent and timely feedback. This feedback may come from you directly, from assignments and assessments that have feedback that's already built within them, or even from other students. So you can consider self-check quizzes and activities as well as other types of practice opportunities that provide timely feedback to your students. Such assignments are writing assignments that allow for the submission of a draft and suggestions for improvement, self-mastery tests that include informative feedback with each answer choice, interactive games and simulations that have feedback that is already built in it, practice writing assignments, peer reviews and critiques. How about model papers or essays that students can view? Sample answers or answer keys that students can view, and also portfolios with self-evaluation component, journals, and reflection papers. Plan in advance how often you will communicate with your students, whether this is once a week or twice a week. Think about it. Think about it as being a system. Some good practices include sending a reminder that they are starting a new module and what tasks they need to complete within the module. Also, wrapping up the module where you can highlight some of the good assignments and maybe some things that students need to improve on. You can also consider a weekly wrap-up of discussion board posts. Frequent feedback from the instructor increases students' sense of engagement in a course. Students are better able to manage their course activities when they know upfront when to expect feedback from you. Your course should provide clear information about when students will receive responses to emails, discussion posts, feedback on assignments, as well as grades. Everything you do will help students build trust in you and help them to be successful learners. What are some ways that you can communicate with your students? So we have announcements, emails, Collaborate Ultra Virtual Classroom. Marcia mentioned videos, GroupMe, good. Discussion posts. One tool that I use in my course is called Remind. Remind allows you to send text messages to students' cell phones. And it can be a one-way channel or a two-way channel. So for me, I teach over 150 students online. And so I use Remind to send them reminders on when things are due in class. Yes, www.remind.com. So maybe a tool for you to look into to communicate with students. Remind. I've found that to be very, very helpful. Many students now, they aren't saying that they've forgotten when things are due because they get emails, they get announcements, and they also get a text to their phones. I don't know their cell phone numbers. They enter it into They enter their own phone numbers into the remind system, and it's not in Blackboard. So I just send a message and it goes right to their phones. I let them know the privacy concerns up front. So students, if they want to, then they can sign up for a Remind. They can sign up via their phone. They can sign up to get it sent to their email. So they can sign up for it, or they can't. They'll still get the same information. Yep. Yes, it's a choice that the students can make. Yep. So now we're going to shift gears and talk a little bit about feedback. Feedback serves so many purposes in the online classroom. That's why it is important for you to consider how feedback is provided, when it is offered, how it is focused or targeted, and what is considered in the feedback. Oftentimes, we provide text-based feedback. However, feedback can be in a variety of ways: text, audio, and video, which will allow you to record your voice as well as a computer screen. And you can also have a webcam if you like. That's a free tool, Screencast-O-Matic. It can allow you to record free for up to 15 minutes. You can save the video as an MP4 file. You can save the video to Screencast-O-Matic server, or you can also save the video to YouTube. There's also a new Screencast-O-Matic.com is the address. You can also use the new video feature that's in Microsoft PowerPoint 365. You can do screencasting with the new Microsoft PowerPoint as well. So those are types of ways and different technologies that you can use to create video feedback. There are many types of ways to provide feedback to students in an online course. So you're going to want to select the feedback option that is most useful to you and your students. Announcements, assignments, discussion boards, tests, and rubrics are all key features in Blackboard for providing feedback to your students. So let's discuss some strategies using Blackboard. First, you can use the announcements for feedback to your students. For example, you can highlight a great paper from a student submission. You can point out specifics that is related to the grading rubric. Or you can you can summarize discussion boards from the week's postings. You can even post an announcement to provide feedback about overall test results and provide some suggestions for improving future tests. You can collect work from students. You can review it, grade it, and provide feedback. With inline grading in Blackboard, you can mark up student submissions using comments, drawings, highlights, strikeouts, and text boxes, as well as provide text-based feedback or attach a file such as a video with feedback. In addition to using inline grading, you can download a student assignment, mark it up in Microsoft Word, for example, and then upload the document with feedback into the Grade Center. You can set up discussion boards to be graded within Blackboard. Then as you read posts from students, you can provide feedback. You can type feedback, or you can also attach a file. Test feedback options determine the type of results students receive after submitting a test in Blackboard. There are two types of feedback that an instructor can provide for tests, and that's overall feedback and individual feedback. This is an example for overall feedback. Overall feedback is related to the entire test submission. When you create a test in Blackboard, you can enter feedback for specific questions within the test. You can set feedback options when you deploy the test in a content area in Blackboard. Test feedback options determine the type of results that students received after they submit the test. Blackboard also has built-in rubrics. Do any of you currently use the built-in rubrics in Blackboard? Well, you may want to after hearing about it. So rubrics overall provide criteria for students to see how their work compares with expectations and helps them focus their work. Using the Blackboard rubrics feature, you can create an online interactive rubric and then measure an assignment against the detailed rubric. When grading with the rubric, you can provide feedback for each criteria on the rubric or overall feedback. So someone is wondering how easy for students to see and find it. It's pretty easy. There's like a little box within the assignment that students can click to view it. I use it more so for when I grade, but I also put a Word version of the rubric in Blackboard, Word or PowerPoint version. And I typically use the rubric for when I'm grading. As mentioned earlier, I have like over 160 students in my class, so it's very simple for me to grade using this built-in Blackboard rubric. It'll add the points up for me once I click the radio button for the amount of points that they receive, and students can see it in the Blackboard Grade Center. So if you don't remember anything from this presentation, remember these 15 steps. Remember these 15 tips. You're going to want to make your course available online in advance of the start date so that students can know in advance what to expect. Number 1. Number 2, you're going to want to email a welcome message before your course begins. Create an instructor page that introduces you. And remember, this can be text or video or audio. You can also look at having students introduce themselves. Remember that keyword we talked about at the beginning, community. This helps to create a sense of community. You can look at creating an icebreaker or a scavenger hunt or even a syllabus quiz at the beginning of your course. Create a course video tour that shows students around your course. Log into your course and monitor your course regularly. Post announcements on a regular basis, and you can also send these announcements as emails or even use the Remind tool that I mentioned earlier that I use in my class. Communicate the academic support that is available to students, whether it be the Student Success Center, whether it be the library, whether it be Student Disability Resource Center. So you want to communicate the support that students have available to them. Look at creating weekly introduction videos and or weekly outro videos to end the week. Have online office hours. You can use tools like Blackboard Collaborate, Skype, or even Google Hangouts for this. You will want to set the communication rules for your course. Proactively create course management techniques for yourself so that you can manage your workload. When you communicate with your students, use their names. This can help, as we've been talking about, creating that sense of community. And you're going to want to provide frequent and timely feedback to your students. So those are the 15 tips for you to be successful in an online course.